Hi! In this video I want to show you a quick way how to make a menu toggle with contact receivers. You have a button somewhere on your wrist and you can toggle a menu. This idea came from Isunia. Thank you for the suggestion.
Also, I really hope this is actually what you meant and what you wanted. I'm not quite sure, but this is what it is for now. Alright, so how do we do this? I will first create a visual button on my hand. It's just going to be a plane. Okay, this will be our button. If I press this, then we spawn a menu. And then I will make another plane, which will be our menu on the wrist. Okay, great. There we have our menu. I will also call them accordingly. This will be menu button. This will be the menu itself. And inside the menu button, I will make a new empty game object. Or if you already have something on your avatar that's visually a button, whatever, you can just create an empty game object on your left wrist. I will call this the menu receiver and add a component called VRChat Contact Receiver, which will give us a sphere, which is currently very, very small. I'll make it a little bit bigger, 5 radius. That's about right. So if my finger touches this sphere or this button, I want to toggle something. We need to add a collision tag. I want my right index finger right. So if my right index finger goes into this contact receiver, then a parameter will be toggled. I will call it menu. Now this is important. Copy this, or like remember the exact name. Now you can go into your FX layer, animator. If you don't have this window, you can go window, animation, animator, spawn that. And in your FX animator, you create a new parameter, a Boolean, and call it the exact same menu. It needs to be the exact same. It also is capital, case sensitive. Good. Now we need to make animations for toggling it. I will, per default, hide the menu. It should not be visible by default, and if I click it, something happens. So we go to animation tab. Once again, if you don't have it, go to animation. There we go. And create. Now we will call it menu on. Press on record. And now in the hierarchy, go to your menu and toggle it on. If when you click on your item that you want to toggle, it jumps to something else and doesn't record anymore, click this small lock here, and then you can click around in the hierarchy and it will still stay in the animation and recording. Don't forget to untoggle it because otherwise you will get confused. Good, we have this. We copy this frame, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, so that we have a 1-frame animation with 2 keyframes. That simply says, okay, toggle the menu on. Now I create another one called menu off. Record again. Toggle the menu on and off. So that in the animation, the recording says, okay, toggle it off. We copy it again, so that we have 1 frame. And good. Now one more thing that we need for this is a buffer. We need an empty animation, but it's not allowed to be completely empty. So what we need to do is create a new empty animation, and it literally doesn't matter, record whatever, it's fine here. And then when you go in here, you can rename it, like press F2 while you selected invalid. I don't know, I just do something else. Something that isn't actually in the scene. So you have an animation that does nothing because invalid doesn't exist. We need that. Okay, then we have all the animations that we need. Don't forget to remove the controller from your, like select your avatar, animator, and remove that. It's not necessarily a problem, but it can be. So get rid of that. Now we need to go into our FX layer again, into layers, create a new layer, call it, I don't know, it doesn't matter, menu. Very important, set the weight to 1, otherwise nothing will happen. And now we need to create the logic. First off, we start with menu off. The menu by default should be in the off state. Now we need to put an empty. And per default, automatically, without any condition, it will go to empty. With a transition duration of 0.3, we need to tell it, okay, we press the button, and now don't check for anything, because we want to toggle it on and off with the very same button. Otherwise, it will constantly flicker on and off. We need a buffer of, I find 0.3 pretty well working. Good. So when we start in menu off, then we will instantly go to an empty buffer, and the transition is 0.3 of a second. When we are in empty, we have this little buffer. We can drag in menu on, make a transition from the buffer to menu on. And in here, we make a condition. The condition is that menu is true. Remember, we had the menu receiver here that toggles the parameter menu as soon as our right index finger gets in there. That means that menu gets toggled to true, and we will instantly play the menu on animation. We want it to be instant, so we disable exit time and set the fixed duration to 0. Now we need another buffer, empty. Make another transition that goes over here with a time of 0.3. And from here we need another transition back to menu off that should have no exit time and no transition duration. But this needs the condition of menu being true. So that means at the start, when everything starts, we're in menu off, the menu is turned off, and it will instantly go to a buffer, which takes 0.3 of a second, and then it waits. And then, as soon as we touch the receiver, our button, it will turn on the menu and go right back into a buffer of 0.3 of a second. And then after 0.3 seconds, it is checking again whether you press the button. Otherwise, if you don't have this buffer and you press the button, it will constantly switch on, off, on, off, on, off all the time, and it's not good. Lastly, depending on how your setup is, remember to enable or disable write defaults. I don't use write defaults. I have my reset layer, so I disable it. If you have write defaults on everywhere, you can enable it. And yeah, that's it. I hope I could help you. If you have any other requests, feel free to ask something in the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.